back to the channel. My name is Crawford. This is Virginia's for Lowriders, and today and tomorrow and a little bit earlier in this week we're going to be knocking out more progress on the Mazda project. If you hadn't seen it, last week we went through and pulled the intake off, smoothed out everything, removed vacuum ports and coolant ports and EGR ports, and it is portless now, except for the big hole for the carburetor, which we went through and port matched to fit everything and hopefully flow a little better and make this screaming 75 horsepower, 76 horsepower, maybe. So last week we got all of this stuff metal finish worked and painted and sealed and all of that. We actually bolted parts onto the truck for the first time. These are some new headlights and horns. We made a fan shroud, which I worked on like Tuesday this week, and I used my new rivets and completely finished it, painted it, and installed it, and then I talked myself out of it. So I kept thinking, I think I might have even said it in last week's video, I don't know where I got that really thin aluminum from, but I could have swore it was thicker than it actually is. I don't even know where that stuff came from still. And I kept thinking about it. Turns out the piece that I thought that piece was in my sea container the entire time. So impulsive ADD brain decided to come home on Tuesday or Wednesday, I don't know, sometime this week, and completely remake it, because I wasn't really happy with that one over there. So it's new, same exact thing, except for it's not layered, it's thicker, and it doesn't flex. I got some new tooling that I'll show y'all that makes these really cool looking radiuses here. This week I went through and painted the block and the front cover, had all that stuff apart, pulled the valve cover off. We're going to be modifying that today. Got the radiator bolted in place. I actually found these little clip things on eBay. There's something else that I did during this week and I don't even remember. But if you've never been here before, don't forget to subscribe, do all the normal YouTube stuff, and yeah, let's just do what we've been doing. We're going to be bouncing around, ADDing our way. I just need to name the project at this point. ADD something related. If you think of a name, put it in the comments, and maybe eventually you'll end up on a license plate, because that is exactly how this project is going. Usually I can stay on track sorta and just knock something out, but I don't know. Something about being in front of the camera, maybe it's just intensifying the ADD and wanting the need to bounce. Yeah, let's just stop rambling and just start doing some stuff. I'll add in the engine block, the fan shroud, all that random stuff that I did, just so y'all can see the process or whatnot. And I pulled the valve cover off, and somebody's definitely been in here. I think this is a aftermarket head, because it is entirely way too clean, and the underside of the valve cover was disgusting. So I'm assuming what the odometer said was the old engine, and this, I don't know if it's been completely replaced, but at least the head is new, and somebody's gone through this thing and put a little bit of money into it. That's what I'm trying to get at. It's been freshened up, which is surprising, and it makes more sense why it doesn't smoke and doesn't leak oil, because it seems like every one of these that I've had and my buddy James has had does those things. So one of the things that I'd like to knock out today is the valve cover modification. I soaked this thing in some degreaser over the last couple days, and if you look in the corners you can see how grimy this thing was. But it's looking pretty good now. But it was to the point where if I was going to be TIG welding on this and polishing on this, all of that would have just turned into smoke and basically just killed me. So I'm thinking something along the lines of shaving this, taking that little nub off. Well, I had to look. I'm not 100% positive. Whichever one is used for the throttle cable to keep it in place and stop it from bouncing around, that's one I'll keep. The other one's going to get the hole filled and shaved. Same thing with this. I might even knock the corner off of this. I haven't fully talked myself into that. Oh, I'm kind of stupid. I let that soak in that for the last couple days, but whatever. This is going to get welded up, polished, cleaned up, just like we did on the intake. I need to still bring the intake in the house and fill it up with water and water test it to make sure that there's no leaks on there. I got some clamps in today that are going to do away with the normal hose clamps. Those will clean up the engine bay. I pulled off both radiator hose things. I need to get those cleaned up, which I sandblasted this, but it had a lot of nasty buildup inside, so I let it soak with degreaser, and it's looking pretty good so far. Same thing with this guy. All of that's going to get cleaned up. Another thing I would like to knock out between today and tomorrow, I think we're going to bounce back into the cab. I told you it's bad. My brain, I don't know what it is lately. But I really need to finish the cab corners. There's a tiny bit of welding in the very corners of the front floorboards that needs to be pinholed, fixed basically. And once that's done, I can seam seal the entire inside of the cab. And then we can move on to the underside of the cab. Not sure if we're going to get to the underside this weekend, because that's a lot of work. That's a whole lot of seam sealing. But we're going to be doing this, that, and then if I can find a good enough piece of sheet metal, which again I'll probably have to drag some stuff out of the sea container that's in the backyard. I think we're going to make a battery box, because the battery is going to be relocated to the back of the truck this go around on the truck revision, I guess. I'm thinking somewhere maybe in here is probably the best. I don't want to mess with up there. It's fuel tank stuff. I'd like to keep it on the passenger side of the truck, since there's the driver and the exhaust and heavier suspension stuff, and trying to get the weight distribution a little bit better. I think we're going to keep it over here. I got to go through my random stack of halfway okay batteries and figure out what size we want to run this time instead of the one that was in there last time, because it's a weird oddball size. And then we're going to stop rambling and take this outside, clean it up with the garden hose the rest of the way, and start welding and polishing and covering everything in aluminum again. The time lapse that I'll add in here is me blowing all of the aluminum dust outside, just to show that I wasn't exaggerating how bad it actually gets in here. So yeah, I'm gonna shut up now and we're gonna get back to work. I looked through some pictures, even on the internet. I just assumed maybe I had the wrong cable, but it doesn't look like these are used for anything. Not sure if there's enough meat to take that completely off, but found this random piece of wood. What I'm going to do is take some of these deck screws. Probably should have did this beforehand. I'm going to run the deck screws down in the corners. That way the valve cover is held in place, and I can actually like clamp that thing in the vise without screwing it up. And I can carry it back and forth and polish on it and whatnot. So I do that, and then probably cut that ear off. This one's going to be a little trickier to clean out. Not positive about this guy. I'm going to cut the corner off here. I'm going to remove these two and start polishing and welding. This thing turned out pretty good. Between the valve cover and the intake here, it is quite shiny. I'm happy with it. You can see where I welded a little bit because, like the intake, there's tons of impurities from 30 years or 35 years of oil soaking and whatever else got on this. I was having a little bit of a hard time getting it all welded and smooth, but yeah, that took way longer than it should have. It's kind of late now. Like, that was many hours worth of work. But you might be wondering to yourself, after you see this disaster of a mess, wow, how did you do that without getting yourself dirty? I didn't. Not even... Oh, I didn't even notice I had 2 pairs of safety glasses on. I don't know what's going on here. I am absolutely covered. So I'm gonna go home, or I'm out of it. I'm gonna go inside and take a shower and go to bed. And hopefully we can get all of the other things knocked out tomorrow. Yeah, that's the plan. Hey, it is Sunday. We have got a lot of work to get done that I mentioned yesterday that I probably am not going to get done today, but we're going to get something done. I need to hit the sea container, pull out some steel, because the little pieces that I have in here I don't think are big enough to make a battery box. I went through my random batteries. I think an MT24 is probably going to be enough. It had a really weird, I don't know why that battery is in there, an oddball size battery, but we're gonna do away with that. Go to this. It's more cranking amps. It's a common size of a battery rather than some stuff that you have to like special order. So yeah, we're gonna use that. Gotta get some steel. I'm gonna whip up a battery box real quick, and then maybe we'll weld the cab. I'm not sure. We'll see how long this takes. While I'm procrastinating on welding on the cab and doing the battery box, I figured I'd show you all some tools that I've been wanting for a very long time, and they went on sale on Black Friday, so I decided to finally purchase them. They're made by Hammer Fab. They're called Crater Makers. They've got a couple different sizes here. They make that shape into sheet metal. It gives it a very finished appearance. This is not a washer. That is part of the metal. I can show a quick little demonstration of how they work, but so far I'm very happy with these. These things are really cool. I got the Crater Makers, and I think they call these like the flat ones or something. Haven't tried these out yet, but we will find a use for them on many projects to come. Also these are probably going to get used quite a bit on this project. I figured I'd mention that I have absolutely no affiliation to these people. I bought these with my own money. They're pricey, but definitely cool, and I figured I'd just show how they work. Getting a little carried away here. Super badass. I gotta try the flat ones out. Maybe I'll do that real quick while I continue to procrastinate. This one's a little different. It actually threads straight into the die. Yep, too much. Oh, no, actually didn't cut the metal. I don't know what that noise was. But that is equally as badass as that. That was really cool. So, first thing you're gonna want to do here is grab your old greasy pizza box from the night before. The only reason I'm actually using this is because my template material keeps rolling up on me and I don't feel like dealing with it today. So whenever you're planning this out, if you're relocating your battery and you got your bed off, make sure you take some measurements to make sure that the bed is going to fit back around the battery if you're putting on the outside. I went out there and checked my bed and I have a ton of room, so that part's not a problem. We're going to go up a little bit because some manufacturers, just in case I need to replace the battery and I'm out and about and I can't get an interstate, some manufacturers put extra little feet on the bottoms of batteries. I've made a lot of battery boxes over the years, and some, I don't know, you're out and about, your battery takes a crap, you're near a Walmart and you go get one of their batteries and it's got a bunch of extra plastic crap molded to the bottom of it. It's such a pain in the butt. And the battery doesn't fit. And you end up taking a grinder to it in the Walmart parking lot, and you know, it just stuff happens. Alright, I found this random piece of 16 gauge hot rolled, which I'm not too excited about because it's harder to work with the tools that I have, but this thing will just barely fit on here. So it's going to work for what we got to do. Pizza boxes aren't the straightest thing in the world, so I'm just going to clean up my Sharpie marks a little bit here. I knew the day was coming. R.I.P., bro. Alright, this is where we're at so far. This is 16 gauge hot rolled. It's already pretty stiff, but I figured I'd add some dimple dies to strengthen it up some. Show you what I'm thinking here. I want this to sit roughly. So whenever it's sitting here, this is just a kind of a visual. I want there to be a small piece of angle lip that'll go on the back of this for it to rest onto the frame to take away some of that weight. And once I get that on there, I won't be welding the bottom on today because I still need to clean the frame rail up because it has a lot of terrible things welded to it. But the top will at least be set on and set into place. So I did a side job for a friend of mine, I don't know, like 2 years ago. I patched the frame rail on a Mustang, like a Fox body, and this was left over. I was going to make basically an angle from scratch and just use the brake, but this is already made up and it's still sitting around my garage. So alright, I took part of our pizza battery box, since it was already bent into a 90. Cut that down to where it fits into the corner of the cab. I'm trying to avoid the little cover thing that goes on the seat belt as much as possible. So basically I'm going to figure out this angle, make this out of sheet metal, bend it in the brake. I'm going to do some spot welds here, and then it's going to slip down in there, get welded, spot welded on the top, and then blended here a little bit. And whenever I go through and do all of the body mounts on the lower side, I'll finish welding this to the back side of this guy. So for now, we're going to be making some feel-good progress. It'll look complete up here, but the day that basically I need to spend an entire weekend underneath the truck, finish welding and making braces and all kinds of random stuff. But for now, this can get installed, and then this week, as you can see here, all of my pretty sheet metal work that I just put in there got all rusty and nasty because when I was welding the firewall, everything that's behind the firewall constantly wants to catch on fire because it's all nasty insulation stuff from the 80s. So I just soaked everything down before I even started welding to prevent it from catching on fire. And that just turned into me not noticing it being all over the floor and rusting. So I'm going to find some sheet metal, make those up real quick, and weld those in real quick because we are running out of time. It is already late. All right, here it is. It is clamped onto the frame for now. This is, of course, still in mock-up because I'm not 100% sure if this is the part of the frame that it's going to live in permanently. Still undecided if I want it to be closer to the cab, if I can make that work. Really, I need to go outside and study the bed a little bit more. I want to make removable inner fenders out of plastic. Like I said, I wanted to do at the front to give it kind of like a newer car look when you look up in the wheel well. So depending on where it's going to eventually live, which it's probably not going to, it's probably going to be exactly where it is right now. I should be able to get the battery in and out through the wheel well. I should be able to jump start the battery through here because I plan on making the panel on the raised bed floor removable, and the cables will be right there, easy access. So yeah, I think it's pretty good progress on the battery box today. I will be adding some tabs here with some J-bolts, but I don't want to make the tabs yet because I can't find the J-bolts in this just disaster area. I have brand new ones in a package somewhere. I thought they were with the Mazda parts, but they're not. So I can't finish the battery box 100%, but I'm going to show finished results of the box. It looks pretty good. It's pretty simple, but I didn't think we needed anything crazy. The dimple dies give it some strength. I left a gap between the dimple dies because I figured the J-bolts were going to be passing along the side or through the center of them, and this was just to stiffen up the floor. The back's going to have a bunch of stuff welded to it because there's going to be additional bracing back here. So I didn't want to put any dimples here because it would mess with the way it sits. So we have drainage, strength, and purpose built, not just trying to make it look like a go fast part on a race car or something. So we're going to move to the cab inner pieces now and knock that out. And that'll probably be it for the day. Alright, so the cab corner is welded up. I have the filler piece for the other side. I don't think I need to record me doing both because it's literally the same thing. But you can see I got a little bit more metal finishing to make it look just like the rest of it, even though it all gets covered up by seam sealer, so it really doesn't make any sense. But you can see what I was doing here. Got the spot welds across the top, cut it open, laid it over, made all that a smooth transition. And like I said, everything, which there's absolutely no gap between this piece and here, all of that will get welded across the bottom when I go through and do the cab mounts. So it is pretty late. I'm not going to get to the part of sanding the rust off. That's going to be a this week project. So yeah, I guess that's about it. So if you've never been here before, again, please subscribe and go check out the rest of the build, and hopefully I'll see y'all next week. we'll hopefully have this cab and seam sealer, and maybe even painted the cab floor. Maybe. Don't wanna jinx it, because usually when I say I'm gonna do something else takes way too long, like polishing a valve cover for hours and hours. Yeah, I'm rambling. See y'all next week.